Up on the Warhammer community site, we got a faction focus for Space Marines, and the reason I'm bringing this up because within that focus, it gives us rules for the Grav amp and Grav cannon. Now, this weapon was everywhere and it did everything. It sliced, it diced. You basically took it to defeat every single thing in the game in 7th edition, and that's going to change. Now, the weapon itself has gone through a pretty much radical redesign. It's heavy 4, strength 5, -3 to save with 1 damage. If the target has a save characteristic of 3+ or better, the weapon's damage is increased to D3. Now, what does this mean? This means that it's not the catch-all weapon anymore. This weapon is now pretty good for killing things like Terminators. You may be able to kill Dreadnoughts, and I assume we're going to think like Dread Knights and Orc Walkers and things of that like, but it's not going to be the weapon that you can just hose down everything from 24 inches, 30 inches away anymore and expect to just be an auto win or even an auto include. So what we had heard before was that they had not necessarily nerfed Grav but made other things better within context. I think this is a bit of a nerf. And that's not bad. I mean, this was something that you just took all the time. Every time you included Centurions, you needed to take 3, or Space Marines, you needed 3 or 6 of these to be able to just fight anything. Now, I think within context, this will still have a use depending on what you plan on facing, or maybe whatever shakes out in the tournament meta itself, because that D3 wounds, while not reliable, of course the average is going to be 2, is going to be enough to kill some of these elite troops and things of that nature. And it's going to be a lot more difficult for things that ignore injury to absorb all the wounds that these things put out, because 3+ save is going to be fairly easy to find. We're even starting to see things come out more and more with 2+ save. A Land Raider even has 2+ save. It's got a ton of wounds, so I don't think this is going to really be the best thing for things like that, because it's lost the immobilized result. You can't just peg something, a flyer or a Land Raider or a tank or anything, and get that multiple wound stack up like hull points were in 7th edition, which is good. It does kind of give us another blurb here about the Centurion missile launcher, giving hope for those people that maybe don't want to remod their Grav stuff, as that the missile launchers that you can get in the chest of the Centurions do D3 hit shots at strength 8, AP2, which AP2 -2, which also do D3 damage. Yeah, this is a radical change. Before you just kept the Hurricane bolters in there because they were cheap, they came stock, and maybe you put the missiles on somebody to take advantage of the split fire. I don't know if you how you are or everyone armed them before, but that was at least a consideration. I don't know a lot of people that did do it. I know some people that left off. They didn't glue in the missile or the chest weapons because it's so easy to slot in. So that's going to save you a little Dremel work. But I can see people wanting to change up their weapons a lot because of the fact that Grav is not going to be the catch-all. Things like Melta on the wrist with the close combat Centurions may make an appearance. That was very much a fringe play that you saw with Assault coming out of Land Raiders and whatever. But now it's not just not included the Grav, which means there's relevance for the rest of that kit, which is nice. The article today, the Faction Focus, also talks about Predators, the Space Marine Predator tank. And I think that's going to be interesting because the weapons are not going to necessarily be the standard, and you didn't see them at all before. They were a ghost of Warhammer editions past. I remember when 5th edition came out, it was a consideration to take an autocannon, what we called a Docker Pred, with the heavy bolters and the autocannon because it was so inexpensive. But now with AP being a relevance and different weapons having maybe something that they can do, like with the autocannon and heavy bolters being able to fire at different targets, being able to get some long range firepower inexpensively, you might actually see a Predator, and then the las cannons, being able to take the twin link las cannons on top. Remember, twin link gives you an extra shot now, and then the las cannons on the side. That's going to be able to deliver a lot of high quality wounds downrange, and it's not going to be able. They're not going to be able to take it out with one shot. Before, that was always the fear that someone could hit a las cannon, could shoot a couple of Grav shots at your Predator, and it was going to go away. Now we don't have that anymore. So I think with this faction focus, although it's specifically about Space Marines, what it does tell us is that we're going to see a reason, which we knew this. This is kind of cementing the fact that we're going to see different weapons on the table because they're going to have different tools and different, I guess, functions they had before. Now, no, people aren't going to be rooted in every time you play Space Marines. You knew you weren't going to see a Predator for sure, but you were going to see some amount of Grav Centurions, in a drop pod or whatever. And this is changing. You may see last cannon Centurions, and I know we've joked about those in the past, but all the things, everything in that plastic kit, remember, it's got a bunch of options. It's got bolters, it's got las cannons, it has melt-a-guns, it's got missiles in the chest that you never saw. This is giving us hope for all of our other kits. This week, we're going to see a ton of information come out. I think there's going to be kind of a flood of info of things coming out this week. Because things are starting to make their way out to stores, and people are going to be too excited, not going to be holding anything back. We'll, of course, continue to give analysis on stuff coming out from the Warhammer community site, and I'll also show some hobby things that I'm working on getting ready for 8th, and maybe some tips that I've learned to make some of this transition from things that have been on the shelf since 4th and 5th edition, getting ready for 8th, because there's going to be hope to play with it. Anyway, please comment, subscribe. Let me know if you're really happy about the change to Grav, that you're not going to see it everywhere anymore, and there's a reason to take other things, or you were getting tired of getting hosed down by Grav cannons and Grav amps. I think that's going to be the majority of how people feel. But anyway, I want to hear your thoughts. I said, please comment, subscribe below. Thanks a lot.